We're going to dig into a way of thinking that might finally crack one of the biggest puzzles in finance. Why do so many traders fail? So let's just get this out of the way first. 95%. That's the number you hear. The estimated percentage of traders who end up losing money. Well, it's a brutal statistic, right? So the big question is, why?
And the easy answer is, oh, they just weren't smart enough, or their strategy was bad. But what if that's not it at all? What if the real reason people fail is a lot deeper? Something much more personal. And that brings us to the whole idea behind this explainer. It's this metaphor of the two mountains. And trust me, once you see it, it completely reframes the challenge. Trading stops being this battle against the market and starts being a battle with yourself. Okay, so let's get our gear on. Here's our path up the mountain today. We'll start by looking at the wrong mountain everyone seems to be climbing. Then we'll see how the market is actually a mirror. We'll talk about your compass, map, and rope, how to survive the storms, and finally, what the view from the summit really looks like. All right, first up, climbing the wrong mountain. This is really where the trouble starts for almost everybody, right from the get-go. So if almost everyone is on the wrong path, what's the first big truth you need to uncover? It's this simple but powerful idea. The market is a mirror.
And here it is, laid out, the two mountains. See, on one side, you've got the technical mountain. This is where most traders live. They spend all their time trying to master charts, indicators, news, strategies, you name it. But the real challenge, the mountain that actually matters, that's the one on the other side, the one made of fear, greed, discipline, doubt, and patience.
The psychiatrist who became a famous trader, Alexander Elder, absolutely nailed this. He said the markets are basically the world's biggest psychological testing ground. Think about it. Every single price tick, every sudden move. It's like a little pop quiz. It's asking, hey, are you going to stick to your plan or are you going to freak out? He basically said success is like 80% psychology and only 20% strategy.
And this is where it gets really interesting because our own brains are wired to trip us up. These aren't just abstract ideas. They're these little whispers in your ear that sound perfectly reasonable. That voice saying, oh, it'll come back, just hold on a little longer. That's loss aversion. Or when you only look for news that proves you're right. Classic confirmation bias. And the most dangerous one, overconfidence. That feeling after a couple of wins when you think, I can't lose, let's go bigger. That's a killer. Okay, so if the real mountain is all in our heads, how in the world do you climb it? Well, you need the right gear. And I'm not talking about another fancy chart indicator. I'm talking about a mental toolkit, your compass, your map, and your safety rope. So this toolkit, it's really built on three simple pillars. First up is risk. Think of this as your safety rope. You have to know exactly how far you're willing to fall before you even take the first step. Then there's reward. That's the view from the summit. You have to ask yourself, is this climb even worth it? And finally, probability. This is like your weather forecast. You've got to make sure the odds are stacked in your favor before you head out.
The legendary investor Stanley Druckenmiller said it perfectly. He pointed out that amateurs are obsessed with being right. But you know what pros focus on? Staying in the game. They focus on survival. They know they're going to be wrong a lot. The whole point is to make sure that when you're wrong, it's just a little stumble, not a fall off a cliff.
And one of the most powerful ways to do that is right here. It's called position sizing. Look at this. By only risking a tiny piece of your capital on any one idea, say 2%, you're basically guaranteeing that any mistake is just a scratch. You still have 98% of your climbing gear left to go again. It makes it almost impossible for one single fall to end your entire climb. Look, even with the best gear, the best plan, storms are going to hit. Falls aren't just possible, they are absolutely going to happen. And the real difference between the people who make it to the top and the ones who turn back, it all comes down to how they handle those moments. And this is where we get to an idea, inspired by Nassim Taleb, that just flips the whole script. The goal isn't just to be tough and survive the hit. The goal is to build a system that actually gets stronger from the chaos, one that learns from every single failure. And there's a word for this, anti-fragility. The best way to think about it is like a muscle in the gym. When you stress it, you create tiny tears. But it doesn't just heal back to normal, right? It heals back stronger. That's what an anti-fragile trader does. They don't just survive a loss. They take it apart, figure out what went wrong, learn from it, and actually improve their system because of it. The fall becomes fuel. And if you want a perfect real-world example, look no further than Ray Dalio. Back in 1982, he was so sure the market was going to crash, he bet everything on it. And the market surged. He was totally wiped out, had to borrow money from his dad just to get by. But here's the thing. He says that devastating failure was the best thing that ever happened to him. It taught him a humility he never had and forced him to build a system that made his firm Bridgewater one of the biggest in the world. That failure literally became the foundation of his success.
So that brings us to the final part of our climb, the summit. After all this, all the struggle, the mental discipline, surviving the storms, what's the whole point? Why would anyone put themselves through this? Well, the obvious answer is for the money, right? For the wealth. But that's kind of a false summit, because if money is the only thing you're chasing, the climb actually never ends, and the whole journey is just filled with anxiety. The real goal, the true summit, is something much deeper. It's freedom, real freedom. The freedom to make choices because you want to, not because you have to. The wealth, that's not the prize. It's just the tool that buys you that freedom. And at the very, very top of the mountain, the ultimate peak, is this. It's about mastering yourself. The market was just the arena, the testing ground. The real victory was learning to be disciplined when you felt greedy, staying calm when you wanted to panic, being humble when you were winning. That's the prize. You don't conquer the market, you conquer yourself. So we'll leave you with this one last thought. If the mountain is just a mirror, a reflection of your own fears, your discipline, your resilience, who do you want to see looking back at you when you get to the top? That's the real journey.